Hi, my name's Tim Grayson. I'm the Poet-in-Residence at Belvoir Castle in the UK. About a decade ago, I was awarded the title of Cultural Ambassador for Leicester City's poetry and creative writing communities by Leicester City Council, and since then I've made it my mission to champion Leicester all over the world, organising all sorts of things to promote the city and the wealth of talent that exists here. I also used to lecture on a visiting basis at the University of Leicester and Newark Museum, and this was on a variety of topics including creative writing, the progression of the arts and others. Back in 2012, I hosted a series of public arts lectures at Newark Museum where I highlighted a number of different interesting creative people throughout history and then identified a variety of traits that they had, which we can learn from and apply in our own lives and work now. So as we're all in lockdown at the time I'm recording this and there's not really much to do apart from work, sleep and watch TV, I thought I'd repurpose one of these lectures from back then. However, instead of lecturing you for an hour, I think it makes more sense to split it up into shorter, more manageable videos, focusing on one interesting person each time. I want to be clear, this isn't going to be a series of in-depth historical biographies of creative people. It's going to be a series of their most fascinating, useful traits. We can then take these traits, examine them under a microscope, and perhaps even look to apply those successes in our own lives. So let's get started with Lord Byron and what I like to call the Byronic Oath, which is coincidentally the title of the original lecture. I hope you enjoy the series. I will cut myself a path through the world or perish in the attempt. Others have begun life with nothing and ended greatly. And shall I, who have a competent if not large fortune, remain idle? No, I will carve myself the passage to grandeur, but never with dishonour. These were the words of Lord Byron in a letter to his mother when he was only a child. I find it fascinating because I can't imagine my son or daughter saying, "Dad, I've decided, I'm going to get rich or die trying." But this is essentially what he did. And what's important to note is that these weren't just some typical youthful words, brash but ultimately empty. They were a declaration, an oath. He did cut himself a path through the world, becoming a legend in his own lifetime. And he did carve himself a passage to grandeur. And he did, unfortunately, perish. This is a fascinating example of someone who knew what they wanted to do from a young age, and then set themselves out to fulfill that destiny that they had set for themselves. He wanted his life to mean something, and from that point on, he took the steps to make that happen. So what can we learn from this? Let's take a look at the very first sentence. I will cut myself a path through the world or perish in the attempt. Even as a child, Byron knew that there was a degree of risk involved in the pursuit of the self, but he was determined to live as authentically as possible. He wanted to cut his own path, not follow in the footsteps of anyone else. This also links with the very last point. I will carve myself the passage to grandeur, but never with dishonour. Byron wanted his life to mean something, and he wanted to stand up for what he believed in. And he died for an honourable cause, helping the Greeks in their war of independence against the Ottoman Empire, and now the Greeks revere him as a national hero. There's an ancient British proverb that Byron may have once heard. It goes, if you're walking on the path, you're walking someone else's path, and you're not having an adventure. Remember that the only person who can create the work that you want to create is you. We're all going to perish at some point, and when you die, your talent dies with you. You are the only person who can cut your path through the world. Nobody else can do it for you. So get out there and do it. And that concludes the introduction. Thanks for listening. Over the next few videos, I'll be referencing some other historical examples of those who have cut themselves a path, highlighting several ingenious traits that we can learn from, and perhaps even repurpose for our own work and lives. If you like this video, please remember to tap the like button, and if you're not subscribed, please remember to do so below. Until then, I've been Tim Grayson, and you've been listening to the Byronic Oath. Speak with you soon.